episode 3 of Law and Batting Order. I'm your host, Tony Iliakostas. Here are some quick hits from the past week. Hollywood may soon become Torywood. On Wednesday, former Yankees and Dodgers manager Joe Torre resigned from his position as the Executive Vice President of Baseball Operations for Major League Baseball and will pursue ownership of the Los Angeles Dodgers. The storied franchise filed for bankruptcy in July of 2011 after former owner Frank McCourt finalized a lengthy divorce settlement with his ex-wife and former Dodgers CEO Jamie McCourt. Furthermore, the Dodgers filed for bankruptcy after Major League Baseball refused to approve a multi-billion-dollar TV deal with Fox in an attempt to keep the team afloat. Torre will be teaming up with LA shopping center developer Rick Caruso to try and purchase the team and return the Dodgers back to glory. On Monday, January 2nd, Citizens Bank Park, home of baseball's Philadelphia Phillies, hosted the National Hockey League's annual Winter Classic. This year's matchup was between the Philadelphia Flyers and the New York Rangers. Amidst an array of bad calls by referees, the Rangers escaped with a 3-2 win and continued to be a dominant force in the Eastern Conference. After the game, Rangers coach John Tortorella made post-game comments about the officiating, calling it disgusting. While Tortorella apologized, the NHL slapped him with a $30,000 fine, but there's certainly no doubt that a win for the Rangers was important. The NFL regular season is over, and alas, the playoffs are here. This weekend is Wild Card Playoff weekend as the Lions square off against the Saints, Tim Tebow and his Broncos play the Steelers, the Cincinnati Bengals play the Houston Texans, and the Falcons visit the New York Giants at MetLife Stadium. These games should prove to be exciting, although at the time this was filmed, which is Saturday, I don't know the final results of Saturday's games yet. Nevertheless, whoever wins their respective game will advance to the divisional round of the playoffs. Of course, I'll be paying the most attention to the Giants-Falcons game.
Go Giants!
I'm sorry, me from the past. What was that you were saying?
Go Giants!
Man, I didn't pick that up. Could you just say that one more time?
Go Giants!
Haha, that's right. Go Giants. Today's Order in the Court will cover a debate that has been going on for quite some time. Pay for play. Tomorrow, the Alabama Crimson Tide will face the LSU Tigers in New Orleans at the BCS National Championship game. With this bowl game coming up, it made me think, should college athletes be paid for their performance on the field? While there is no statute or federal law that bans players from being paid, there is a rule in the National Collegiate Athletic Association's handbook which bans student athletes from being paid while they're playing for their school's athletic team. By law, Article 16, Section 1 states the following. A student athlete shall not receive any extra benefit. Receipt by student athlete of an award, benefit, or expense allowance not authorized by NCAA legislation renders the student athlete ineligible for athletics competition in the sport for which the improper award, benefit, or expense was received. If the student athlete receives an extra benefit not authorized by NCAA legislation, the individual is ineligible in all sports. The handbook further defines an award as an item given in recognition of athletics participation or performance. By law, Article 16 is rather lengthy, but the bottom line is that players can only be paid in the form of a scholarship. Otherwise, athletes cannot be paid on a weekly basis for their performance on the field. While the NCAA has a rule in place that prevents players from being paid, the argument can be made that players deserve to be paid. The biggest argument is that many college athletes produce close to comparable numbers to some of the best athletes in professional sports, and their personal achievements should make them worthy of a monetary compensation. Take, for example, Baylor QB and Heisman Trophy winner Robert Griffin III. This season, RG3 in 13 games threw for almost 4,300 yards, threw 37 touchdowns, and only had 6 interceptions, but ran for 699 yards in 179 attempts and scored 10 rushing touchdowns. The only NFL player with the closest stats to him is Green Bay Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers, who in 15 games threw for around 4,600 yards, threw 45 touchdowns, and had only 6 interceptions, but rushed for only 245 yards in 60 attempts and scored only 3 touchdowns. What's the fundamental difference between the two players? Rodgers is making $10 million this season, while RG3 doesn't have a buck to his name. Another argument is that college players put in just as many hours of practice, memorize just as many plays, and spend just as much time on the court or on the field as the average player in any professional league. The argument is that student athletes are juggling between their individual studies and athletic performance, and it would only be fair for student athletes to be paid for putting in countless of hours of practice and playing. An additional argument that could be made in the pay-for-play debate is that student athletes should be paid, especially those who hold a star status, because they are the face of the university's athletic department, and their performance is what fills seats in the stadium arena. Take a player like Stanford's QB, Andrew Luck. His performance as an accurate thrower and game changer has not only made his team better, but has made Stanford's football program one of the best in the country. There's no doubt that he'll be drafted and sign a decent rookie contract, but in the meantime, the argument could be made that the reputation he has earned at Stanford makes him worthy of compensation as a student player. These are just a few of many arguments that could be made as to why college athletes should be paid. But while these arguments exist, counter-arguments could be made as to why college athletes should not be paid. Perhaps the biggest one is that student athletes are already paid in the form of scholarships. When student athletes become part of their school's athletic organization, they get a free ride. Their tuition payments are completely covered. The debate is that giving a student scholarship money that is the equivalent of a school's tuition constitutes as monetary compensation. The school is basically allowing the student to study at the school, all while maintaining good academic standing and participating in the school's athletic team. The other big argument for not paying student athletes is that paying college athletes destroys amateurism in college sports. College sports are all about seeing young athletes rise and shine to stardom. College sports focus on the maturation of young athletes becoming potent forces in their respective sport so that they reach the pros with ease. To pay a college athlete would kill the amateur nature of college sports, and it would make college sports just another professional league to add to the list. While this argument could go on forever, the pay-for-play debate is a huge legal argument within the scope of the NCAA and the industry in itself that will probably last for years to come. That's the show. Leave all your comments down below, and be sure to visit Law and Batting Order at lawandbattingorder.com, as well as on Facebook and Twitter. Until next time, have a great week, guys.